high moral standards in French politics. Most of his voters were drawn to the perception that he was honest. That was the first criteria. If you looked at qualitative surveys, they would say, "Oh, Fillon, he's honest." So it's really hitting hard, the pillar of his campaign. So it's been really devastating for him.
Anne-Sylvaine, this is Maria Margaronis with a question for you.
Hello, Anne-Sylvaine. I wanted to ask you a bit more about Macron because we don't know very much about him. Certainly, from outside France, he says he's neither of the left or right. He seems like a technocratic candidate. I know he's a former economics minister, but what do we know about what his actual policies would be if he should win?
It's one of the, I guess, I don't know if it's a weakness or not, but he hasn't yet outlined a detailed program, and he's campaigned on a few ideas, and I think he really managed to, he touched a nerve on a few ideas. For example, the fact that French society is kind of stuck with some people having privileges, long-term contracts, trade unions who hang on to their privileges, or some sectors are heavily protected, have high barriers to entry, and he calls them the insiders, and then there are the outsiders in society who are, for example, the daughters or sons of immigrants and lower educated, and so on and so on.
He's quite youthful, as you said. He's also quite good looking. Is that relevant?
I think, being young is and new is definitely an asset these days, and to some extent that's a real threat to Marine Le Pen, who's been around for a long time.
Candidates in French elections do tend to be perhaps more image conscious than in other elections. The former socialist candidate had certainly an element of glamour to her in the elections a few years back. Do you think the public is into these things in France, or is that an unfair assumption?
I don't know. I don't know, but there's definitely, this time around, there's definitely, a premium to the one who's going to appear as fresh and new and a bit radical. There's obviously a bit of a populist, there's a populist trend even in Macron. Everybody wants to be a bit of a revolutionary. Macron's book is titled Revolution. So you need to be a bit radical and a bit new,
It's Kevin Maguire here. The unpopular President Francois Hollande, of course, isn't running again. Is there any chance the Socialist Party's candidate, Benoît Hamon, could make the runoff, or are they just completely written off now? French politics shifts to the right.
I think I would be extremely surprised if Benoît Hamon makes it to the second round. That said, you cannot rule out any scenarios, because again, you only really need 22% to make it. And Benoît Hamon is new. He's offering a radical approach. He was a rebel to the government, to his own, to François Hollande's government. So he basically he's got an easier task, maybe to be a candidate.
He's one of those with this idea that is becoming increasingly popular in European parties, that everyone should have a minimum income, isn't he?
Yes, he's
from the government.
Exactly. He supports universal basic income. He's definitely